Well, today's video is just a treat. It's going to be fun. Tencent tried to take on Battlefield and Tarkov. Now, I say tried because it's not exactly going well. It's far more of a Timu Battlefield kind of thing, right down to the absolute assault of Bing Bing Wahoo special amazing pop-ups every time you do anything. It's got 55% positive Steam reviews and a monetization system described as, quote, like gazing into a bottomless void from which no light can escape. That's a quote from PC Gamer's review, and everything else is basically a firm meh. The game is called Delta Force, and this is great timing because we just lost XDefiant, so come on, we need some sort of live service shooter to have some fun with. Now, this is a bizarre story. If it was simply just a boring mid-game, we wouldn't really cover it, but no, the details are just so nightmarish and strange that it absolutely is worth covering. Now, in terms of even doing this in the first place, you can see Tencent's thinking. I mean, Tarkov is successful, but it's plagued by drama. Everybody wants an extraction shooter, right? But maybe not Tarkov. Then there's Battlefield, the other thing they're targeting. Well, it's been nothing but drama. So their whole plan with Delta Force has been to beat DICE to the punch, because it's still going to be a while until the next big Battlefield. And this is all powered by an early 2000s IP that they picked up from the Embracer Group, Delta Force, that nobody remembers. Very strange. So today, let's peer into that bottomless pit and avoid such pits. Today's sponsor, who are actually now a daily habit for me. You see, I was wasting so much time doom scrolling Twitter and Reddit. Now I use Brilliant, and the deal that I've got is the best one, so you'll get that down below. Now, Brilliant makes learning fun and interactive, where you learn by doing across thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data analysis, programming, and AI, and it's all in their gorgeous site and app. Personally, I use the app. It is an absolute joy to use, and well, the thing that matters is they're not rote learning, it's interactive. Their method is 6 times more effective than lecture videos, and that is something that I feel having gone through university and lectures. It's all interactive quizzes, so you can click, drag, build things, play, and basically you get like a fun tactile visualization of everything, and that means you can feel the concepts and it helps them click in your head. Now, in today's world, I cannot recommend their data pathway highly enough. It's recently been rebuilt, it's better than ever, and it helps you parse, visualize, and understand data. And what's cool is they've got real numbers from Airbnb, Spotify, and Starbucks, so you're kind of working with like actual big brand data. It's fun. And with this, you'll learn how to just get probability intuitively. And that's like vocationally really important, but you know what? It's also a big upgrade for just real life. And with the likes of that, you just develop an intuition that you can trust. So in a world where usually it's doom scrolling and brain rot and that stuff that just doesn't make you feel good, with Brilliant, you can actually use your phone, learn things, and feel good about it. So I can't recommend them highly enough. And at my link, brilliant.org/Bellular News, you get 30 days free and 20% off the annual plan. To start today's adventure, well, Delta Force had free-to-play company in the form of Marvel Rivals and Path of Exile 2, which are obviously different games, but they had pretty massive launches. There's going to be some overlap. Now, their 57% launch rating did rise to a delightful 64% by weekend 1, and actually the player counts are not half bad. 102k on Steam, rising to 119k by the weekend, which is not bad. Battlefield 5 and 2042 both peaked around 100k, but that was well after their initial launches, and it does manage to top Grey Zone Warfare and Hunt Showdown, which had 70k and 60k peaks. That said, it can't touch Tarkov. Battlestate said that in 2020 they had hit 200k concurrence. So there are numbers, but of course it's a big, heavily marketed free-to-play shooter, right? And there's appetite for something new in the extraction space and in the Battlefield space. But the game is a bit of a weird mess, and it's what happens when Tencent says, okay, here's 2 popular things. I would like one of those and one of those, and also a single-player campaign. Turns out when you do that, it doesn't always come together perfectly. So here's a quick version of how. There are performance problems, there is no controller support, and of course being a free-to-play, it uses kernel-level anti-cheat. The problem they had though is, yeah, it actually didn't uninstall if you uninstalled the game during day 1. That meant that people would uninstall this, but the anti-cheat solution would still be on their computer. Now, if they then went to play another game with another kernel-level anti-cheat solution, like say Easy Anti-Cheat, they would interfere with each other and people couldn't play other games. The developers Team Jade were able to fix that bug within a day, but still pretty rough. Then, of course, suffice to say, there's the obvious thing. If you're not the type to, say, gobble up all of the TikToks, and, do that in your fresh Huawei phone, then, well, there's really no amount of privacy policy reading or assuasion of fears that will help with this game. So obviously it was contending with that. And of course there are other grumbles. It's got a launcher, you need to use another account, but the things that actually matter, well, that's the game and how they are planning to make money from the game. Look, I don't want to shock you, but if you try to be both Battlefield and Tarkov at the same time, you're probably not going to do a great job of being either, as very much learned by Battlefield, which had Hazard Zone, the extraction shooter that they built into 2042 and very quickly jettisoned. This game also does borrow less popular elements of 2042 that are clearly geared towards monetization, like having specialists, not classes, and of course it does copy plenty of features and gadgets wholesale. What's odd is the specialists keep their gadgets in the extraction mode, and that just makes some of them far more powerful than others. And then there's the thing that, for a lack of a better word, we would just sort of call the sauce. And I think it's fair to say that this game doesn't really have the sauce. It's trying to go big, free to play, but it's not doing much that's daring or interesting or really geared towards setting itself apart from its competitors. So basically, they've went for the big free-to-play strategy, and in doing that, they've made a game that probably doesn't speak that much to other people. Now, it's not all bad. The gunplay is actually pretty damn solid. It does avoid the scuff nature of Battlefield 2042's launch, where basically they kind of ripped an extraction shooter and stuffed it into the mold of a combined arms shooter, because that game was a legendary development shitshow. And Team Jade's COD work absolutely shows off in the weapon customizations, which are seriously cool. But it's a bit odd that it's a Delta Force game. I mean, it's getting remade Delta Force maps. There's going to be a Black Hawk Down campaign coming in January, but it's really Delta Force in name only. So all told, the mixed rating is absolutely fair. But I promised you a bottomless pit from which no light can escape. So let's do that. It's going to be fun. How the hell do you do a big shooter, have it be a live service, and make loads of money? We see loads of companies try, and at least for Battlefield, in both 5 and 2042, those games kind of murdered themselves trying to be live services. And Tarkov has just always got monetization drama. Now, Delta Force says that it's got no pay to win, so you're probably thinking, what's the problem? Surely it's all fine. I would say no, it's not fine. Wow, they've done interesting things. So to start with, upon opening the game and after every match, you are greeted with a blast of just a half dozen notifications and icons. You've got rewards to claim in various different places, you've got challenges to complete, a big UI bonanza, the sort of thing we're all tired of. It's one of those games that wants you to be engaged, and it's got everything, even the basic daily login bonus to do that. And you really can tell that Team Jade made their money from mobile. It feels like that. Now, more traditionally, there are, of course, 3 battle passes, one for the extraction mode, one for the warfare mode, or a combination of the two, for $7, $7, and $10 respectively. But oddly, each pass has got a weekly limit of 25 levels. Now, the devs argued that the beta season will actually be easier to complete, which maybe is why they've actually throttled people's progress, but if so, it also implies that there'll be way more grind ahead. Now, I did say bottomless pit. Do not worry, we are far from the bottom of the pit. We've of course got limited time challenges and events to inject lots of tasty FOMO across the whole experience, and yes, you can of course buy cosmetics directly in the store, that's starting with guns and knives, and they actually alternate between real money and in-game currency. And then there's the bundles. Here's one, $70, and it's not just that there's bundles here. You get a short video ad for the bundle just about every time you open up the store. And I'm not done. So we've got gacha on top of that, because of course we do. If you've got hard liquor, it is time to neck it all right now. So here we go. Delta Force has got currencies, many of them, and we're going to begin with the humble Mandelbrick. The Mandelbrick. So the Mandelbrick is a loot box with a premium skin or effect bundle inside. And the way they work is you can earn them from being a top 25% player in the Battlefield mode, extracting the loot box in the extraction mode, or completing challenges. But a Mandelbrick is not just what it seems. No. If you save your Mandelbrick and you buy a quantum key, yes, the quantum keys only cost $1, what you can do is use the quantum key on your Mandelbrick, and you will get better loot odds. Specifically, 0.3% for the highest tier of loot, but if you roll 75 times, you're guaranteed one of those top tier rewards, which basically just means it's extremely, extremely absurdly rare for a free-to-play player, 0.3%, I mean, come on. But for somebody who is swiping, well, they can of course get loads and loads and loads of them. But this is not the end. It's time for the innovation. They've actually kind of learned from Valve. So what you can do after you've rolled your 75 quantum-keyed Mandelbricks is take your extremely rare, unique iteration of a skin, and then you can sell it on the in-game marketplace. And that's where we get to another currency, Delta tickets. Those are used for the player economy. Now, there are other reasons to roll, like every roll gives you an XP boost that you can apply to any of your guns. So you don't go home empty-handed regardless, and basically, if you keep on playing, if you keep on just, hitting and slurping up all those glorious quantum keys, you're just going to have all of this rolling XP, and then you'll be able to take part in the Valve-style, player-driven economy thing. And that'll mean that you can spend hundreds of dollars of premium currency to acquire the unique item that you want from another player. Now, theoretically, it is of course possible to acquire some premium currency through play, but it's not going to be a lot because the things that you will get, just for free, they're not going to be that good. They won't be worth many of those tickets. Whereas if you start swiping and, you're playing the premium version of the gacha, it'll be worth way more money. It'll be the rare stuff that you can actually sell in the store. And so you can see exactly what they're doing here. I mean, we've seen auction houses and economies in games. I mean, goddamn, the Diablo 3 real money auction house. Remember that thing? This is, I think, way more similar to what Valve do in Counter-Strike 2. Just looking here, I mean, wow, the way that they've done it sure is something, combining the gacha, all the different layers of reinforcement, and basically everything that Team Jade learned from running mobile games. And the whole idea of getting something that's worth something, but then using a key, like a special premium key to open it for more, well, that's actually really smart because it frames the Mandelbrick as something that you have earned. So if you use a Mandelbrick, right, if you just use that thing without, using a key, it really feels like you've just squandered the thing that you earned because it's going to have such terrible odds. That's a real smart way of doing it and harnessing player psychology. Also, it's like literally playing the extraction shooter that can get you those. So if you win a really tense match of the extraction shooter mode, it's not going to feel great to then just open up the loot box that you earned, but the way that is specifically low value. It's pretty wild stuff, but to be honest with you, I think we're going to see more and more of this. Companies are clearly trying to work out what actually makes a shitload of money, and if this works for Tencent, they will be perfectly happy to continue. Now that we've survived that, you sort of see the point here, right? This is kind of the way the wind is blowing. Even just look at the player choice category of the Game Awards. A whole bunch of nominees were knocked out, and right now, off the top 5, 3 out of 4 are gacha games. That's testament to their size. Of course, economic size as well, and the extreme engagement that they garner. You can see the energy that they want to tap into here. It's very similar to the energy that Blizzard Entertainment and NetEase wanted to tap into whenever they did the gacha legendary gems in Diablo Immortal. But unfortunately, for all of those examples and for Delta Force, I have a slight feeling that the real gacha spenders will spend money for their anime boys and their anime girls a lot more than they'll spend for some tactical stuff. Funnily enough, as the Battlefield franchise found out from its own first-hand experience. So I hope you've enjoyed that little dip into hell for something altogether actually very dark but really good. Well, Path of Exile 2 and Diablo 4 are interesting games when we compare them, and not just to bash companies, but to actually see specifically how the likes of Larian and Grinding Gear are able to pull off what they pull off with the substantially lower resources that in some ways they have.